Toronto, Ontario from the beginning, but please pray God save.
Convocation is now in session. As Chancellor, it is my pleasure to welcome you to our 313th Convocation. Before we proceed with the ceremony, I'd like to call upon Professor Margaret McGlynn to present Western University's Land Acknowledgement.
As we gather to celebrate our graduating students, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that our beautiful Western campus is situated on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenape, and Attawandaron peoples, who have long-standing relationships to the land and region of southwestern Ontario and the City of London. The local First Nation communities of this area include Chippewa of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames, and Munsee Delaware Nation. In the region, there are 11 First Nation communities and a growing Indigenous urban population. Western values the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and all of the original peoples of Turtle Island, also known as North America. Miigwech, thank you.
To all our graduates, first let me say congratulations. You've worked hard to achieve this. Graduation represents a major milestone in your lives. At Convocation, we assemble as a university community to celebrate and recognize your achievements at Western and to wish you every success for the future. Your learning days are far from over. Learning is a lifelong process. Western has not provided you with answers to all questions. At most, we hope that what stays with you is a way of thinking objectively, approaching problems with an open mind and a healthy respect for new ideas, all tempered with compassion and empathy for the human condition. You are forever a cherished member of this great university, founded more than 140 years ago. We welcome you into the Western family. Again, congratulations to each and every one of you. Today, we also confer an honorary degree upon Carol Hopkins, in acknowledgement of her significant contributions leading Indigenous organizations, strategies, and policy frameworks in the field of Indigenous mental health and her accomplishments as a leader in innovative research. To present our distinguished candidate, I now call upon Dr. Brent Dubosky, Faculty of Education.
Kiha Kulamalsi, Bojo, Sagoli, Ani, Sego, Wache, and greetings. It is my pleasure and honor to present Carol Hopkins to you. Carol Hopkins, or Nojem, is an active and widely respected fourth degree Medewan leader, teacher, and knowledge keeper within the Anishinaabe Three Fires Confederacy. She is also the chief waterwoman of the Three Fires Medewan Medicine Society. To her immediate and extended family, she is a grandmother, mother, auntie, sister, and caregiver. While there is insufficient time to describe all her great works as a Medewan person, I provide one example here. To bring national attention to neglect of the Great Lakes, Nojem participated in 5 water walks alongside the late Anishinaabe Medewan elder Josephine Mandalman. A water walk involves trekking on foot around the perimeter of a lake, although it's much more than that. To put that into perspective, the shorelines of Lakes Superior, Michigan, Huron, Erie, and Ontario total 17,017 kilometers. To Nojem, being Medewan is a forever commitment and responsibility. To the fullest extent possible, she is a tireless helper to Indigenous peoples and all our relations, which includes everyone here today. In 1986, Nojem's commitment to the helping professions began as a social education counselor with the Delaware Nation Council. She parlayed her experience into instructor roles with the Native Counselors Training Program and then with the Anishinaabe Educational Institute. By 1996, she earned a Master of Social Work degree from the University of Toronto, and that same year became the first executive director of Nimki Numpquagan Healing Center. Known to local First Nations peoples as Nimki, the Healing Center became the first culture-based residential substance abuse treatment center for First Nations youth in Canada. Nimki uses a holistic approach in its treatment that includes promoting positive mental health, which for many First Nations youth is critical and can amount to life-saving suicide prevention support. The undocumented labor in the helping professions is extensive, but it was always clear to Nojem that there was much work to do. Determined to take her skill sets to the next level, she took the post of Executive Director for the National Native Addictions Partnership Foundation. After 6 years in her role at the national level, she helped facilitate a merger between her home foundation and the Native Mental Health Association of Canada. Under her leadership and as the first Executive Director, the Thunderbird Foundation, Partnership Foundation was created and is where she still works today. Nojem has co-chaired national initiatives responsible for establishing best practices and policy frameworks in Indigenous substance use and mental health. Most notably, she has worked on the development of the First Nations Mental Wellness Continuum Framework, the Honoring Our Strengths, a renewed framework to address substance use, and the Indigenous Wellness Framework. Since 2004, Nojem has also dabbled in teaching as a part-time professor in the School of Social Work at King's University College. She recently worked on the development of a course in the Master of Social Work program and taught in the Bachelor of Social Work program. In 2015, she was the recipient of the Champions of Mental Health Award in the category of Research Clinician and presented with the Health Canada Innovations Award. She is a member of the Leadership Advisory Council to the Ontario Minister of Health and Long-Term Care and was part of the Canadian delegation to the 2016 United Nations General Assembly Special Session on the World Drug Problem. Carol also participates on a National Mental Health Advisory Council to the Federal Minister of Health. And in 2018, Carol was appointed as an officer to the Order of Canada. Mr. Chancellor, on behalf of the Vice Chancellor and in the name of the Senate, I ask you to confer the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, upon Nojem Carol Hopkins.
By virtue of the authority vested in me as Chancellor, I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa. Congratulations, Dr. Hopkins. On behalf of all assembled here today, I should now like to invite our newest alumna, Dr. Carol Hopkins, to address convocation.
Sounds funny, right? It's my family over here. Wewe na bojo, no jem indigenous cause, kaye mainga na dodem, lene lanape kwe endao, mede wana kwe endao, nigabe mede kwe. Nime kwenama, wewe na bojo, but wewe rambenesi, je ne cause au minoa, anabenese, je ne cause au minoa, zase gagijigo kwe. Minwa Nimama Kirikaguskwe. I start by introducing myself as who I am truly. Nojem was a name that was given to me, my spirit name, that talks about my characteristic, my personality, but also informs who I am in creation. My clan, the Wolf Clan, also speaks about my roles and responsibilities to family, to community, but also to all of creation. The nation that I come from is the Lenape Nation. My father is from the Munsee Delaware First Nation, and my mother from the Delaware Nation at Moravian Town. I also have grandmothers from Ojibwe and another grandmother from Potawatomi Nations. I am so honored to be here today. And I want to say Chimigwich to Western University, to the Senate, chancellors, the president, faculty, and to you, the students who make up this community. I also recognize my family, my extended family, the people who make time to work with me, my friends, my grandchildren, my nieces and my nephews. Especially want to remember my teachers, who I also named in my introduction. They are the ones, especially, who helped me to know who I am and that I have purpose in my life. I want to say how especially honored I am that the university has recognized the place of Indigenous knowledge. Indigenous knowledge is the translation of the sacred knowledge of the original peoples of this land. The sacred knowledge that I refer to in my learning comes from the Three Fires Medewan Lodge. Medewan is the way of the heart. It is known as a grand medicine society if you look up any of the writings of anthropologists that studied Medewan, the Medewan philosophy and worldview. It's not just a philosophy, however. It is grounded in language, the original language of the people. And in the language, we have an understanding about the fullness and the completeness of life, all of life. There's an understanding that life began before there was any physical life. And our story of creation holds all of our science and is the evidence base for our knowledge in this time. It's said that what the Creator gave to us at the very beginning, before there was anything physical, was given forever and all time. And then every generation of people that walk the earth have a responsibility then to understand the original instructions given to us by the Great Spirit. And that if we study and understand those original instructions and those teachings, then we will know our path in life. We will know our roles and we will know our responsibilities to others on this earth. I've been studying Medewan ever since I arrived at the community of St. Charles, Ontario. At the same time, I was studying for my bachelor's of social work degree. And at that time, it began a formal process of understanding the sacred knowledge along with Western-based knowledge in the academic system. And as I walked that journey, I was constantly trying to understand concepts in Western worldview, psychology and sociology and social work to understand how our people knew the same knowledge. And when I began to understand language, I understood then that we have a foundation of evidence in our worldview. That evidence is our creation story, as I said. And everything that we know about life, all the science, the mathematics, the psychology, the sociology, the way we understand people, the way we conduct research even, is all tethered in the story of creation. All of our processes and the way we understand relationship and how we work together is all tethered within the creation story. In research and the way that we conduct research isn't based on the problems that need to be understood and the hypothesis that answers those problems. The research is understanding our strengths and that we have a foundation of knowledge and that knowledge is forever growing and that we have a responsibility to translate that knowledge and that when we look for the strengths of Indigenous people, we have a much richer understanding of our role in relationship to Indigenous people. If we're only ever looking at the problems, then we're only ever going to see the problems. And that places us in a position of privilege, a position outside of those problems, a position of savior, a position of a person with the answer. And that will never work for Indigenous people and Indigenous communities and families. We have to have relationship. All of creation depends on relationship. If you look at the patterns of the stars, all of the stars have relationship with each other. And that's the pattern for understanding all of life. It's said by the story of our creation story that when creation was first being thought of, there was nothing in this world physically. It was all spirit at that time. That's the foundation of law, is spirit. And that as the Creator thought about what life would look like, the Creator imagined the most beautiful place where life would grow. That's the foundation for research, that we have to imagine the most beautiful place where life will grow. That sets us upon a path that is very different from looking at only the problem and only looking at it from a narrow perspective. If we bother to study what the strengths of a people are and what they have to answer their own challenges, to continue living life in the way that was meant for us to live, it's possible for us to work together and to find solutions that are meaningful to First Nations people, to Indigenous people. And so I've been fortunate enough to find good friends along the path that are willing to invest in that way of thinking. It's a different way of thinking. We held research consultations across the country with many people, and I asked very prominent, important, brilliant thinkers, how do we research strengths? And more than often, I heard the answer that, well, that's not the way we approach research. But I found some good friends who were willing to go down that path, to study the strengths of Indigenous people. And the result of it was the Indigenous Wellness Framework. And it's a framework that I suggest to you will benefit all of humanity. Because when we defined wellness from an Indigenous perspective, from coast to coast, across many different languages and many different cultures of Indigenous people, the result was a definition that was grounded in strengths, that was grounded in Indigenous knowledge. And the knowledge keeper said to us, if you want to facilitate spiritual wellness, then you have to do it by connecting people to their values, to their identity and their worldview. And that if we do that, the outcome is we create hope for people because they're grounded in who they are. And it's a strength-based perspective. The Creator imagined the most beautiful and perfect place where life will grow. That's how we are as human beings. And if we want to create emotional wellness, We have to invest in a sense of belonging. That's the outcome, is belonging. But we do that by connecting people to family community and to helping them with relationships that facilitate an attitude towards living life. If you have family, community, and relationships with family and community, it's possible then to have an attitude towards living life. And that might seem like a simplistic answer, but there are many people in the world that are not connected to family and community, let alone to creation. All of creation is our family. In indigenous languages that are so critically important to our worldview and who we are, talks about all the plant life and the trees and the animals and sky realm, earth realm, as living life. They're not just entities for our use as human beings. They're living life, and our life as human beings depends upon them. So we have to be in relationship with them. If we have a relationship with the land, then we live well. The state of the earth, our mother, the earth, is the state of our well-being and our own health. If the earth is sick, so are the people. And if we want to have an understanding about the meaning of life, then we have to invest in our education, an understanding that there are two sides of knowledge. There's spiritual knowledge and there's the physical knowledge, the knowledge that we gain from learning with other people. But that knowledge and education is incomplete if we have no connection and understanding about what the Spirit, the Great Spirit, gave to each and every one of us as people. And only when we put the two together, the rational knowledge and the intuitive knowledge that comes from our spirit. And science discounts the intuitive knowledge. We don't just make it up, the spiritual knowledge. There's a long history of our spiritual knowledge. When we put the two together, and only when we put the two together, can we have a full understanding about the meaning of life, about the meaning of our roles, about the meaning of our responsibilities, about the meaning of who we are as people on this earth, and how to take care of all of creation. That's our responsibility. And if we want to know what is our purpose in life, everybody wants to know that my life has meaning and that I have purpose, especially as you're graduating and you're going to pursue a career. You want to feel as though your investment in your education is going to lead you someplace where you're fulfilling a purpose in your life. Purpose is created by understanding that for us as Indigenous people, we have a unique way of being. The example of our connection to the earth. A unique way of doing things. The example of research. Researching the strengths to bring them forward in a process of decolonization. Unraveling the cloak of colonization that has set aside our knowledge and our way of being and our way of doing things. That's how we facilitate decolonizing the knowledge. And we avoid what my good friend Dr. Janet Smiley says as epistemic racism. Do not participate in epistemic racism, which is the judgment of which knowledge is most credible. Which knowledge has the scientific rigor that tells us we can rely upon it. It's not discounting that. But because Indigenous knowledge that comes from the sacred knowledge is not as accessible, you don't find it in the stacks at the Weldon Library. But it can be accessible by Indigenous people. And we can translate it to have meaning and application in our life today. And when we bother to invest in that process, when we conduct literature reviews, not just by what is written, but also what is carried by our elders and our knowledge keepers, carried unchanged from generation to generation. And when we add that knowledge alongside of what the literature says, we can get further ahead in terms of applying knowledge and developing knowledge that is more meaningful to Indigenous people. And so way of being and way of doing creates wholeness. And that's how we find our purpose. And so hope. Know who you are. Know where you belong. What are your gifts? What are the gifts that we gather from creation, from our connections and relationships? And what is it that we understand about life and our meaning and then our purpose? That's the Indigenous Wellness Framework, created in conversation with Indigenous knowledge keepers across this land. And again, I say to you, every human being wants to know there's hope for tomorrow. Our responsibility is not to leave the next generation or my grandchildren with fear. Fear about, will I have a place of belonging? Fear about whether I will still have access to sacred knowledge. Fear that the universities or post-secondary institutions or any of our institutions in society will reject them because of who they are. Our responsibility is to make sure that we understand each other, that all colors of man have a reason to have hope, they have a place of belonging, that their life has meaning, and their life has purpose. And that if we live our life on purpose, we can create a better society. Reconciliation is about creating a better society, especially for Indigenous people. But it requires all of us to question our own belief system, our own knowledge systems, and to work in partnership with Indigenous people for how we can bring the two together. And it requires us to have a knowing about ourselves that we can be comfortable in the discomfort of ambiguity. That the unknowing about Indigenous knowledge doesn't have to be a place of fear and rejection. That if we bother to learn the value of a different knowledge system, we can all benefit. That as Indigenous people, we have much to offer to all of society. And I thank you for the recognition through this honorary degree that really speaks to the place of Indigenous knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol, for your thoughtful address. As a leader in innovative research in the field of Indigenous mental health, you have been recognized nationally and internationally. Today, we are pleased to recognize you in your home community for the significant work you have done to improve the lives of those with mental illness. Distinguished guests, please join me in congratulating Wester's newest honorary Doctor of Laws, Dr. Carol Hopkins. Well, now that you've sat down, will the candidates for degrees, diplomas, and certificates please rise? Miss- Mr. Chancellor, I am very much honored to present to you the candidates who have successfully completed their academic programs at Western. I ask you to admit them to the degrees, diplomas, and certificates for which they have been recommended by the Senate of our university.
Under the authority vested in me by the Senate, you will be admitted to the degrees, diplomas, and certificates that shall be announced by the public orators.
Will the candidates please be seated? Mr. Chancellor, graduating students, colleagues, and distinguished guests, convocation is the single most important time of celebration in the life of the university. Today, we honor those graduating students who, through determination, hard work, and intelligence, have met the demanding standards of a Western degree. Today is also a proud day for all of us associated with Western, including our Board of Governors and Senate, our faculty, our staff, our alumni, and our friends in the community. It is wonderful to see so many members of our community of learning who have taken the time to join us and celebrate this important day in the lives of our graduates and the life of the university. Today, those of you crossing this stage join a special group known as Western Alumni that numbers more than 300,000 alumni in 150 different countries around the world. Mr. John Eberhard is here representing the Alumni Association, and I would ask him to stand and be recognized. Western's Board of Governors is charged with the responsibility for the overall governance of this institution. Today, we have with us Mr. Douglas Keddy, representing our Board of Governors, and I would ask him to stand and be recognized. I would also like to extend a special welcome to Mr. Gary Lima, Senior Vice President, Academic Services, Fanshawe College, who is joining us today to celebrate the awarding of degrees to graduates of the Joint Western Fanshawe Media Theory and Production Program. Gary, please stand and be recognized. I would also like to acknowledge and thank the parents, spouses, partners, children, relatives, and friends of our graduates who are here today. This celebration would not have been possible without your loving support. I ask that our graduating students please rise once again, turn around and face your family and friends, and give them a round of applause for supporting your journey. Now let me congratulate once again the remarkable students who graduate today with Western degrees. Today you become partners in outstanding academic achievements of the University of Western Ontario. My warmest wishes to each and every one of you. So congratulations, deserve it. Before we proceed, I have two special requests for those of you in the audience. First, as a courtesy to all graduates and their families, please hold your applause until the public orators signal when applause is appropriate throughout the ceremony. This will ensure that each graduate's name will be heard. Second, we know that photographs are important for graduates, their families, and friends. As you heard before the ceremony began, we are pleased to provide each graduate with a photo of this special occasion. We ask that you remain in your seats throughout the ceremony and feel free to take pictures from there. I now call on the public orators to introduce the candidates for degrees.
Mr. Chancellor, the following are candidates from the School of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies for the degree Doctor of Philosophy. Claire Alana Annalise Burrows.
Okay.
Roger Shabbat. Nicole Carolee Dahmer. Allison Jane Frayne. Bradley Christopher Hebert. Karen Patricia Nicholson. Tiara Lalita Sukhan. Abdul Malik Sully. Mr. Chancellor, the following are candidates for the degree Master of Arts. Kristen Leslie Allison, Olivia Marie White. Mr. Chancellor, the following are candidates for the degree Master of Library and Information Science. Jason Christopher Andrews, Catherine Marie Andrew, Emily Rose Baker.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now starting a very large degree group, and we will lead you in applause when a larger group of students have completed their walk across the stage. Thanks.
Danielle Lise Bettridge, Nicole Marie Siglioni Strandholm, Jillian Patricia Evelyn Clare, Megan Darch, Bo Dreger, Alexandra Victoria Fallis, Amanda Diolo. Sorry, got me confused. Amanda de Oliveira Fogassa, Marley Marie Goyette, Janelle Tracy Haley, Eden Kinsel, Megan Victoria Kirkland, Chak Wang Elizabeth Ko, Victoria Jane Levang, Carrie Lynn Lochtenberg, Selena Long, Amber Matthews, Autumn Leanne Mays, Caitlin Ainsley McClary. Elizabeth McConnell, Lucas McKee, Shanley Morahan, Jennifer Nangrieve, Samantha De Souza Paveo, Ravia Pirani, Stephanie Prentice, Astrid Faith Ramos, Melissa Rapp, Zoe Riley Ansons, Anne Lakshmi Saw, Laura Sedgwick, Rhea Smith, Shanine Elizabeth Steele, Jillian Kesha Stevens, Heather Christine Stoll, Catherine Elizabeth Vianich, Felicia Catherine Vukovic, Ashley Lauren Mildred Yates McKay, Kaylee Heidi Young, Yushan Zhang, Sinyu Shao,
Yes. Okay. Mr. Chancellor, the following are candidates from the Faculty of Information and Media Studies for the degree Bachelor of Arts honors programs. Alessandra Ray Ackley. Alexia Argyropoulos. Rakea Salima Baksh. Nico Barzanja, Rachel Kate Blackwell, Lee Kaide Bracy. Thank you. Mariah T. Brenders, Ashley Marie Brocklebank, Samantha Kate Brozovich. Josephine Bulot, Lauren Macbeth Katani, Tyler Sinclair Cheeseman, Laura Ann Cheesewright, Julia Cherry, Emily Cervasio, Zoe Chu, Brendan Chung, Teresa Chung, Veronica Jordan Coles, Matthew Marshall Conacher, Lindsay Cook. Paige Cooper, Hannah Crossgrove, Kiana Rebecca Dames, Emma Kate Devlin, Kristen Andrea Dill, Sabrina Dotch,
Leon Grace Doucette. Delaney Chanel Doyle. Sydney Annabelle D'Souza.
Okay.
Sydney Aaron Dubin. Rowie Dunkelman. Paige Dutition. Simone Gray Edwards. Irma Farouk. Olivia Teresa Fernandez. Stephanie Finch. Michaela Mackenzie Finnerty. Lauren Forster. Brianna Lauren French. Sophie Iris Gleason. Haley Marie Griffiths. Caitlin Hahn. Samantha Jane Hurd. Olivia Hanna. Shannon Holly Hicks. Haley Cora Hinton. Jessica Nicole Hoffman. Bianca Nev Huang. Minnie Huang. Carolyn Nicole Hughes. Tiana Hunter. Jessica Lauren Etsy. Jamie Iggledon. Anastasia Antonia Intunis. Lindsay Alexandra Graham Jenkins. Lauren Ann Judson.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a loud round of applause for the graduates who crossed the stage.
Edmund Thackeray Kelly. Jessica Ann Key. Jordan Michaela Cope. Niall Kramer-Tonin. Danielle Lacouve. Taylor Madison Lau. Kristen Lee. Nadia Yashti Lildar. Hannah Bryce Luker. Jijing Maggie Ma. Riley McGee. Ariana Nicole Magliocco. Haley Ma. Stephanie Machusi. Clayton James McCrindle. Katie Olivia McDonald. Grace McGowan. Joshua Merrifield. Nago. Sarah Murphy. Sophia Naprawa. Hun Nago. Jamie Nguyen. Stephanie Ashley Orlando. Haley Joanne Panos. Allison Christine Park. Stephanie Phillips. Katrina Suzanne Beckford Pollen. Sydney Hart Popescu. Sophie Poulos, gold medalist. Ainsley Marie Powell. Kelly Ann Prince. Carla Thierry Rawson. Sarah Ann Reynolds. Catherine Ross. Mila Schneider. Sophie Seidelin. Rachel Sender. Leslie Shiner. Alyssa Lauren Silverberg. Yael Rosalind Solish. Beatrice Spike. Christine Amanda Stabell. Holly Lindsay Stevens. Eden Stillman. Nicole Sweetie. Yu Sun. Lindsay Allison Tahana. Magdalena June Toshimi. Eunice Diane Tulang. Paulina and Nellie Tulacorpi. Adriana Visek. Kimberly Wang. Sedona Williams Lennox. Mira Williamson, gold medalist. Darian Thomas Barolda Renschel. Samantha Zangrilli. Marissa Zatzman. Am I out of here?
Mr. Chancellor, the following are candidates for the degree Bachelor of Arts four-year program. Evelyn Catherine Joan Andrews, Broderick Spencer Ashcroft, Luca Balanzano. Emily Catherine Bird, Rachel Michaela Blankenstein, gold medalist, Rachel Elizabeth Carroll. Mackenzie Christie, Adam Cousins, May Victoria Colson. Candace Cristaveo, Molly Jacqueline Cullen, Alexa Alana DeLuca. Jill Ding, Rachel Emily Dial, Emma DeBenko. Ziwen Fang, Jordan Stephanie Findley, Eden Habte. Isabella Suzanne Heaney, Alexandra Heinz, Rachel Hill. Nicole Jones, Raquel Kerbel, Anthea Lassus. Amy Mareski, Rachel Hannah Martinick, Charles Joseph O'Connor Clark. Bronwyn Lee Owens, Vanessa Lena Bennett Patterson, Nicole Faith Patterson Hurst. Natalie Pereira, Emma Rose Pickering, Ashley Ruth Pritchard. Brady Lee Pritchard, Jillian Pulfer, Zoya Shafik Rajwani. Jennifer Ram, Holly Reuter, Sierra Alexandra Silva. Tianzi Song, Andrea Srtenovich, Sophie Steckel. Laura Nicole Shakelwich, Gabriella Tashara, Sienna Teddy. Tara Isabel Murphy Tresham, Angela Trajanovich, Emma Gail Turner. Tavia Janai Wallen, Ming Zhang, Michelle Grace Abutali. Mr. Chancellor, the following are candidates for the degree Bachelor of Arts. Emmeline Aurelie Michel, Adam Julian Pisarek, Andrew Manuel Cacador Roca. Jamie Alexa Sugar. Mr. Chancellor, the following are candidates for the degree Bachelor of Arts, Western Fanshawe Collaborative Program. Jasmine Rose Attridge, Joanna Victoria Biley, Joe Benavides. Gabriella Maria Best, Sydney Bourdignon, Ryan Kwok Yang Chow. Carling Eileen Donahue, Fernando Anthony Adoria, Renee Lois Dunkley. Ashley Ruth Matilda Ferraro, Jacqueline Raquel Floman, Andrew James Wilson Graham. Katie Ann Hopkinson, Megan Margaret King, Claire Ruth Linner. Logan Alexa Littman, Sierra Marshall, Jessica Ann McQuaker. Alexandra Mecklensack, Allison Margaret Powell, Rachel Perron. Soraya Giuseppina Pittis, Marisa Dominic. No work needs to be done. Jose Roach. It's okay. What can you do? Andrew Kenneth Roberts, Maria Sofia Rodriguez, Selena Maria Romero. Carter Rose, Ryan Victor Thompson Brown, John Lloyd Welsh.
In the name of the Senate, I grant to the registrar the authority to confer degrees, diplomas, and certificates to those candidates whose names appear in the official program but who are not present today. At this time, I invite Mr. John Eberhard, representing our Alumni Association, to say a few words.
Mr. Chancellor, Dr. Hopkins, Mr. Provost, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow graduates from Western University. It is my great honor on behalf of the Western Alumni Association to congratulate you and to welcome you. You have worked so very hard to complete your studies and examinations, and today you received your well-earned degrees. Western, our faculties and affiliated university colleges are very proud of its world-class standing, and we know you share that pride as graduates, our undergraduates and our graduate programs. Western delivers an academic experience second to none. Since 1878, the Western experience has combined academic excellence with lifetime opportunities for intellectual, social, cultural growth to better serve our communities. Western attracts individuals with a broad overview, working to study, influence, and lead in our communities. Now, all of you join our growing global community of Western alumni, and we are all united in that Western experience. Our cherished memories of our times here, particularly of the knowledges gained and the friendships made. You'll find your Western experience continue as alumni, and I encourage you to remain purple and proud by participating actively as alumni, cultivating the strength and the global reputation of our alma mater. It is my pleasure also now to invite you and your guests to attend a reception in your honor to be held at the University Community Center Mustang Lounge. That's immediately following the convocation. Refreshments will be served there, and it is there where you will receive your 2019 class pins. To you, your friends and families, enjoy and embrace the tributes that you richly deserve this day. And remember, wherever you go, wherever life takes you, Western will always be home. Good luck. Farewell.
Before closing convocation, I wish to express my appreciation to all who've contributed to the success of the day. In particular, and on your behalf as well, I want to thank the University of Western Ontario Convocation Brass for their magnificent performance and their director, Professor James Mackay. May I request that the audience remain at their seats while the academic procession leaves the hall. Convocation is now adjourned.
Thank you.